Well, hello. My name's Mary Ellen Dombrowski. I'm president of the Connecticut River Valley Chamber of Commerce. And today I want to welcome you to our industry expert session presented by Kris Kaplan of K2 Coaching. You're in for a treat today. As the Common Everyday Overachiever, K2 is a company Kris Kaplan founded that kickstarts clarity for organizations and their people to become better versions of themselves. Kris is a firm believer that if you're not having fun at what you're doing, maybe you're doing it wrong. So after 20 years of being an entrepreneur and building a great company, Kris took all the principles that scaled his company to help build better lives and company for others. He's a coach to entrepreneurs, CEOs, and other high-performing individuals at mid-market companies, providing them the tools to make awesome happen. Get ready to experience Kris's energy, passion, and his zeal for healthy living, his knowledge and determination, along with his lifelong passion for personal development as he shares how to get what you really want from your business and life. So welcome, Kris.
Thank you for having me. I got one house cleaning. I think that Mike Ski still has his volume jacked up for us all to hear his ruffling papers. Or Mike Daly. Or
no,
somebody.
that was Mike. That's Mike.
So,
sorry, but that's Mike Daly, not Mike Ski.
Okay, so let's continue to shame him until he fixes that. Awesome. See, shaming works every once in a while. I think Brene Brown maybe got that a little bit wrong, but that's okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today. Listen, I believe that all small business entrepreneurs really deserve the life and the business that they really want. I think, unfortunately, we're overwhelmed, we're frustrated, and we're not just having the fun. We're not having the fun that we want to have. And I want to have a little conversation today about some ideas and some principles that I can think change that. Change it for myself, and I'll share that story. It's change it for others. Maybe I'll share those stories and can change it for you too. But I simply believe that by inspiring entrepreneurs to empower themselves for a little clarity and a little betterness, that we all give an opportunity to get what we really want out of our business and out of our lives. So we were just having this conversation about the idea of work-life balance and whether it's possible or impossible. And I never really see it as work-life balance. I always see it as work-life integration. Even if you're balancing, and even if I just got certified in yoga. So we do this standing series that moves into a balance series. And there's nobody that takes tree. There's nobody that takes eagle pose. There's no one that takes any of the balance poses and is perfectly still. There's movement. There's adjustments. Even the strongest trees out there, when the wind blows, sway a little bit. So this idea of balance being perfectly still and calm is, it's bullshit. It doesn't happen. And it's about adjusting to the circumstances and the conditions while finding some calm and peace. And I'll tell you that no matter what the circumstances are out there, no matter what the conditions are that are facing us, if we want to find that work-life integration that works as a solopreneur, as an entrepreneur, with one business, with 5 businesses, with kids, with being single, being whatever, it's possible once we decide it's possible and start working towards it. So as a kid, I had a dream. I used to go to the Chautauqua County Fair. My grandparents lived in Fredonia, New York, and right down the street from us was the Chautauqua County Fair. And I grew up wanting to be Joey Chitwood. Joey Chitwood was this guy who drove cars and drove motorcycles around the track and jumped through the air, put the car up on 2 wheels. You know, it was second only to the coolest thing ever, which is Demolition Derby. And I am going to enter a car into the Hebron County Fair Demolition Derby one of these days. I just hope it's not our family car. So Joey Chitwood's who I wanted to be. right? I spent most of my life thinking about my childhood, like how I could be him, and I was quite the daredevil. If there was enough wood to make a ramp, and I could get enough speed on my bike or my big wheel or any other device that I was pedaling myself around on, that bad boy flew through the air, and I had no fear. And unlike this picture, I did it most of the time without any padding, without any helmets, oftentimes in shorts, and I still have the scars on my elbows and knees to prove how how long it took me to actually get good at it. So I have all these dreams. We have all these dreams. We have these things we want to go, but we hold ourselves prisoners. We hold ourselves prisoners to the frustrations of what opportunity do I, we're faced with an abundance of opportunities as entrepreneurs. Shiny objects, some people might want to call them. We refer to ourselves as ADD, and I would just contend that most people aren't really ADD. They just can't make up their mind. They can't commit. They can't get focused, and they don't have the persistence and the grit to choose a path and go down that and say no to everything else along the way. So we're in jail, our own jail, because of these frustrations. We're in jail because of that overwhelm, the frustrations that we don't have a great team around us. I can't keep good people, whatever it is. And hey, jail's not fun, and we're not having fun any longer. Certainly not the kind of fun that we wanted to have when we purposely started this journey, either as a salesperson, a solopreneur, or an entrepreneur, helping to create jobs for others. So do you wake up feeling overwhelmed because your people are getting stuck done? They're not, and you don't know how to get them on the right track? Do you worry because you're not exactly sure where your business is, where you want it to go? Do you feel frustrated at the end of the day because you spent so much time putting out fires that you just don't move your business forward? Do you feel like you're always working and constantly doing 5 jobs at once? Do you come home at the end of the day feeling just relieved, like focused on the problems of yesterday? Do you see other people in business traveling with their families and kind of wish you could be doing the same thing? Do you feel exhausted? Do you live in this silent mediocrity, fearing that letting your family down, your team down, or yourself down? Do you feel like if you just don't do something like this, about this, you're going to remain stuck for good? I think the real problem is not the circumstances, it's not the conditions, it's not anything out there that you're facing. I think it's that we haven't made a few particular shifts and a few particular commitments, and I'm going to share with you 3 of those simple ones today. Once you've made them, you'll have some clarity on where your business is going. You'll be able to do it in a whole lot less time. Your team will be more, or family will be more effective. They'll know exactly what to do to create the results that you want. And you and your business will constantly be moving forward. And I think one of the biggest ones is there's no more firefighting. I won't talk about it too much today, but we all have issues and we all talk about issues on a regular basis, but very few of us actually put solutions to make sure that those issues never come back. We just put the fire out. And I like helping entrepreneurs and business owners learn how to, well, let's avoid the fire in the first place. I don't want to teach you how to put a fire out. I want to teach you how to run a business or run a life without having to have it happen at all. So once you make these, you're going to get some constant recognition from your family and team. You'll be owning your life and your business. You constantly have time to spend time with your loved ones, be much more fully engaged and present with them, and kind of feel like you're accomplishing your goals inside your business and outside. Plus you get to do it a little faster with a little less work. But this is not for everyone. Whether you're here today in the webinar or listening to this, I know that there's a truth out there, which is somewhere between 2 to 4% of you will actually do what a book tells them, a speaker tells them, or somebody else tells them. And it's that few that stand out from a crowd and we look up to. And we say, those are the courageous ones. Those are the ones that are willing to be a little bit different. Those are the ones that are willing to not only have that passion, but add some persistence and add some commitment to it. And it's the combination of all three of those things that I think really allows that person standing out there by themselves to be comfortable being a little bit different. Different's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a remarkably good thing. And if you look at the world, there's the top 2% and then there's the not top 2%. And I thought that this was a good visual explanation of that. So the 3 shifts I want to share with you today, and one of my sayings I've had for a very long time is do what you love and love what you do. It's not my saying. I probably get researched and developed that or ripped off and duplicated that from somebody else. But if I don't love doing something, I usually don't stick around it for very long. And I've been fortunate in my life. I ran a business for 25 years that I built from scratch and sold a few years ago that I love doing for all but the last year that I was doing it. And then after selling it to somebody else, I still love the business and I still remain connected to them and coach them every once in a while. And so still love that category, but I loved what I'm doing now just a little bit more. And I found it hard to love 2 things that much at the same time. So I truly love what I'm doing now. And 3 of the shifts I love helping people get are, how do I get you laser focused? How do I make sure that you're totally fulfilled with your focus and that you're having fun and being a little happy? And I'm going to share a little about that today. So the first is getting focused. This is the first shift. I ask people all the time, where do you want to be 90 days from now? Where do you want to be? They're like, I want to make more money. So I give them $1. I'm like, there, now you've made more money. And they look at me with this frown on their face, like, that's not what I meant. I'm like, well, but that's what you said. So the getting focused is having clarity on, I don't know, like a year from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now, what's the finish line look like? What's every aspect of your life look like when you get there? And that's laser focus, not that hyper focus that we oftentimes get into in the busy world, dealing with the circumstances and conditions around us, but laser focused on our destination. We get into cabs and we tell them where to go. We summons an Uber by giving it the address on where we want to go. We even have a strategy with Uber, which is, I want Uber Pool, or I want Uber X, or I'm feeling a little fancy today, so I want Uber Black, or I'm feeling like I need to stretch out, give me the Uber SUV. And so strategically, so now I've told Uber where I want to go. Strategically, I've told them what kind of environment I want around me. And that's just to get to the airport. But we don't do this with our own lives. We spend more time thinking about how we're going to get to the airport, more time thinking about how we're going to get to the restaurant we want to go to, more time thinking about a weeks-long vacation than we do thinking about our lives or our businesses in that case. And the people around us are more attuned to the path that we took to get to the airport than they are what the path might need to be to get to where I really want in my business or my life. And my contention is that if I just shared with everyone exactly where I wanted to be a year from now or 3 years from now, the universe has this incredible way of stepping in. With the chamber alone, I've made it very clear I want to work with local 6 to 10 local businesses who have employees of 10 or more to help them integrate a particular process and methodology. And guys like Mike Ski and Duncan have stepped up to make introduction after introduction after introduction. because I was clear on what I wanted and put it out there for the universe to conspire. So I was at a talk one day and I met this speaker, and he was talking about this idea of, he was running a big business and he was on the speaker tour, but he caught my attention because he was talking about Ironman, the Ironman competition in particular, and his performance at a number of them, and then winning a slot at Kona. You have to qualify to get into Kona by winning in your age group, or you can, there's a few, you could buy a ticket for like $35,000 by donation, or you could win one in a lottery after you've done a number of them, or do this XC challenge. And he was talking about how he got to Kona, and I just thought, Ironman, wow. It's a 2.4 mile swim, which is a really, really, really long way. Like if you go to Mike's Skis Lake at Lake Terramungus and you want to swim 2.4 miles in Mike's Lake, the long way, you have to swim from one end to the back to where you started, back to the other side, back to where you started, and maybe to the other side again. And I think that's about 2.5 miles. It takes about an hour and 20 minutes. And then you got to get on a bike and ride 112 miles, which is just exhausting to say. I haven't done Ironman for a while now, but I don't even like to drive 112 miles any longer. So riding 112 miles, it's an exhausting experience. And then if that's not enough, you got to run a marathon. So this is what he's talking about. He's talking about his experience of like running a business and having kids and growing this family and starting this speaking career while training for and competing in Ironman. And he had me hooked. I mean, my body, like he owned me at that particular point. But at that point I was 40 years old. I was 242 pounds, somewhere around there, size 40 waist, completely out of shape. If you asked me to run from my door to the mailbox, I'd say no, because it's uphill and it's not far, I can see it. But it was not within striking distance, the comprehension that I could complete an Ironman, until he started to share with me, like, you put the finish line first, and then you reverse engineer from where you are to where you want to go, and you start to break it down into, it's not the distance that we have to cover, it's the next step that we have to take. So it was clarity on what I wanted that I started to get from him as he talked about that. And I told you, I was 242 pounds, man. Like, I couldn't find a big fat guy picture, so I found a pregnant picture. But more importantly, I had a wife, we had 2 young kids when I started this fat to fit journey. I had 2 kids who were 2 and 4 years old, who one day wanted to go to the park for the 3rd time of the day. And for the 3rd time of the day, I'm like, I don't know if I can like walk up the hill one more time. And I felt really bad. I'm like, I can't continue living like this. I have to make some kind of change. And I got uber focused. I joined a gym. I got introduced again to this concept of triathlon and started signing up for them. And, after 10 years of after 2 years of training, I completed my first half marathon, my first half Ironman. And halfway through the 2nd year of getting fit, I completed the Ironman triathlon in Lake Placid for the first time. And I've now completed that Ironman 6 times, done 1 in Phoenix, and I've done 1 in Mont Tremblant. And I did the last one on my 50th birthday 2 years ago and decided to try something else in life. And, yoga's been my thing these days. But I did that while running a company, while in 2009 is when this journey started. We were doing about $8.5 million in sales. 2008-9 hit, we went to $4.5 million in sales. We went to $3.5 million in sales. And I started this fitness journey. And as the fitness journey continued along, I went from working 60 to 80 hours a week in my job to getting uber focused on what really needed to get done at work to make things get back on track and growing again, down to about 10 to 15 hours a week of time while training for Ironman, while being a better dad, while spending more time with my wife, while spending more time with my friends and family. And it was all through having super clear clarity on what I really wanted to have happen. So that was the first shift that happened for me. And the net result was we got business back up to, close to 10 million before we sold it. I was working 10 hours a week, and I was starting to do the coaching process. I was starting to do coaching on the side, and eventually my side hustle became my full-time hustle. And, here I am today. So we get to these this clarity by asking, like, where do I want to be 10 years from now? Who do I want to be working with? Where do I want to be 3 years from now? What's my strategy for getting there? What do I want to be known for? Where do I want to be a year from now? In the next 90 days, what do I have to accomplish to get aligned to all of that? What do I have to start doing? What do I have to stop doing? What am I good at? What am I not good at? And, start to get clarity on this and write it down. And more importantly, share it with everyone around us. If everyone in the world knew where I wanted to go, what I was good at, what I wasn't good at, who I wanted to work with, and where I wanted to be at certain increments, it's amazing how the universe steps up and helps you to make that happen. And allows us to decide, really, most importantly, it's not about the finish line each and every single day. It's ultimately about getting to that finish line, but it's about today, what's the actions that I need to do to know that I had a successful day? Not getting shit done, not doing all the busy work, but moving in the direction that I said I really wanted to be going to get to the finish line that I said I really wanted to get to. The second shift we all have to make, excuse me while I take a sip. Teaching my first yoga class the other day, and I took a sip of water and it spilled all over my mask, and then my mask was wet, and so I'm really glad I don't have to wear a mask for this presentation, so you don't have to deal with any of that. But how fulfilled are you? So we're going on this journey, or we're doing these things, and we're doing awesome stuff. I talk to super busy people who make a lot of money, who've got great companies, who are like clinically depressed, and it's nothing to, they just want to get more and more and more and more and more done, and they're unhappy. They're more and more and more and more unhappy along the way. And what they're doing in their job or in their company does not get them out of bed in the morning. It's not inspiring. It's not empowering. It's none of those things. And the day that we realize why we were put on this planet is the second most important day to the day we were born. And it happens sometime in our lives. If we're lucky, for many, it doesn't happen. And that's unfortunate. There's a lot of great books on this. Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start With Why. He's got another one called Find Your Why. Like, I'm a firm believer in what he does and the simplification. And like, I know what my why is. My why is to inspire and empower entrepreneurs to lead their better lives possible. And I say better over best because today's best can be bettered a little bit each and every day. So I just want to empower better. That's all. And if I do it with a Facebook post, if I do it with a LinkedIn post, if I do it with a webinar, if I do it with a conversation, with a coaching call, with an EOS implementation or whatever, like, I win. I feel a little bit better by helping somebody else find what's going to make them a little bit more fulfilled, a little bit more moving in the directions that they want to be directions in, while following the rules that we'll talk about next. So I'm blessed and I'm fortunate, but it's by design. At Kris & Company, the company I sold, I knew what my core purpose was, which was to help great retailers be more funner. And we didn't want to work with good retailers. We wanted to work with great retailers. We didn't want to work with people who were boring. We wanted to work with people who were fun. And we just wanted to make them greater. And because there was no word beyond fun, we said, we just want to make sure they're more funner. which is now a word, or at least being used by other companies. And funnily enough, we started it like 20 years ago. And but it was our core purpose, and everything we did was filtered through the vision we had and the core purpose. And my core purpose in this fitness journey was about being there and being able to be there for my children as they continue to grow. They're teenagers now, and without having to worry about any physical ailments or any physical restrictions. And at 52 years old in 4 weeks, I can still outrun them all day long, every single day. And I'm going to keep that advantage on them because it's a nice advantage to have on your teenagers. But it was done by design and with intention. The vision was clear and the purpose was clear, and we get to set those on a continual basis. K2 Coaching's core purpose: inspire and empower entrepreneurs to lead better companies and have better lives. I inspire with real-world examples and stories. I'll either tell my own or tell others. I empower with simple and practical and proven tools. I will never teach anything that I wouldn't use my own self or haven't done my own self, or that I have, and also that I haven't seen proven out there. And my fourth core value is simple solutions. I'm not the brightest bulb in a box. I just happen to know a lot of bright people. So things have to be simple for me. And we only really coach those that are really ready. And the difference between ready is a lot of people need it, but they got to want it. This is my personal is to be an inspiration by example that anything is possible to myself and to others while living a fun, loving, and passionate life. And we get there simply by following a process in Simon's book. I can ask you ask you what you do, ask you why it's important, why it matters, why that's important, why that matters, why it's important, until you're blue in the face and we start to peel back the layers of the onion and get down to the core essence of why you do what you do. And I like to be able to help people to say that within 6 words or less. And it becomes this altruistic purpose, but because the bar for satisfying it can be set so low that meeting that fulfillment, meeting that purpose becomes so easy for those when they're engaged in the things that are moving in that direction. Running a webinar today, having somebody get one takeaway out of the whole time that we'll spend together. If one person listens to this and takes one takeaway and their life becomes just a little bit better, or their business becomes just a little bit better, I'm fulfilled. If 150 people listen to it, think it's cool, don't apply anything and don't make any change, I'm okay with that too. I call that job security, because y'all are going to come back later after you see Mike Ski make a change in his life and start running that half marathon that we're going to run in 4 weeks. Right, Mike? I see you. So the third shift that we need to make is we need a set of rules. People break their own rules all the time, and there's nothing more frustrating. I hear people bitch and complain all the time about, I had to do this, I had to do this. And I'm like, you did not have to do anything. You chose to. Unless you're like 4, you really don't have to do anything. You choose to. And the day that you realize you move from child to adult, the day that you realize it's your choice, and you made a choice and now you're responsible for the choices, we don't get to blame it back on, I had no choice, I had to do this. I don't use the word had or have to any longer. And when I do, I get called out by friends, by family, and especially my daughter. I get to do, like later on today, she's babysitting and I get to drive her there. And at 2:30, I get to pick her up and take her to another place. And then I get to go pick her up later. And I'm proud to say I love being able to get to do that, but it's a life by design. So I've got 4 rules in my life. I call them core values. And it helps me live the life that I want. I like real relationships, no assholes allowed. I really don't have time for like that. Like if we're going to have a conversation, we're going to dive deep. I met Tara the other day. We went for a walk. I think we connected like there's like we'd known each other for 30 years, and that was kind of cool. And those are the kind of relationships that I like. At 52, I don't have a lot of room for a whole lot more. And you know, my boy Duncan here, my like this chamber by itself has a bunch of real relationships in it, and it's why I'm continually dedicated to being a part of it. I like to empower better, and I like people to empower better. Leave everything a little bit better than when you found it, and teach your people that they can fix the solutions. I'm a firm believer in teach a man to fish versus give him a fish, and they'll be fed, and he and his family will be fed for life. I have a passion, and this value came from my former world of selling products to retailers, which was I never wanted to work with a vendor who was selling something that I wouldn't use in my everyday life, or I wouldn't put in my own home. And when I realized I got the values right when I transferred over to what I do today as a coach, like I won't work with an alcohol company, I won't work at a CBD company, I won't work with a marijuana or cannabis company, but that's not because I don't like those things. It's just because I've been sober for 31 and a half years now, and it goes against what I believe. So I have to have passion for the people I'm working with and the products that they're either building or supplying their customer with, or I'm not interested in coaching that kind of a company. And it has to be simple. Like one of the sayings in AA was keep it simple, stupid. And, you know, as somebody who who barely made it out of high school and who dropped out of college early on, like I'm not the brightest bulb in the box. I'm probably a whole lot smarter than I give myself credit for. But I like the simple things. And most of the times it's the simple solutions that even the brightest bulbs in the box overlook, looking for something else, looking for that silver bullet, looking for that red pill. And sometimes it's just about dribbling and throwing free throws that wins the game. And John Wooden wrote a few books about that, won a few championships based on that. So I like the fundamentals.
Kris?
Yeah.
Hi, I just want to ask, I want to make sure there's some time for questions.
Yeah, I'll go. There will be.
Oh, good. I've got a good one for you.
Okay. Well, and save those, and we'll get there really, really soon. I don't have my, I don't know how many slides I have left, but I'll go through quickly. So my contention today is that each of those things are really good by themselves. Like if you know where you're going, that's awesome. But it might not be fulfilling. But if you know what's fulfilling to you, that's awesome. But it might not make you any money. And if you know what your rules are, that's awesome. But it might be super constraining. But when you wrap all three together and you know where you're going and it's fulfilling and you can abide by your rules, that's where magic really, really, really starts to happen. And when I live in that little area, or anyone I coach or lives in that little area, remarkable things start to get done. So I work together with people by getting together with groups, implementing the EOS model, and the 6 key components of that. There's a process. We meet for 90 minutes, and then after that we have it for free, and then after that we have an engagement if anyone's interested. I work with individuals one-on-one, help them build a better life and or apply that EOS methodology just to themselves, take a look at their physical, mental relationships and so on, help them change some habits. I like moving people from, we have a tendency to see something we like and want to change our habits to get it. And I believe that it's really change your beliefs, change your emotions, change your decisions, change your actions, change your habits, get better belief system. And it's a circle thing that continues to make us better and better and better as we move around this circle. and really helps to create people into the rock star businesses and rock star people that they ultimately really deserve to be and want to be and are striving to be. And we all have it in us to be able to get there. I like introductions to CEOs, CFOs, COOs, entrepreneurs growing companies, high performers, and sales managers. I don't love introductions to those that aren't rock stars. If, like, seriously, if you suck at what you do, it's really hard to fix that. I love being able to help kickstart people's clarity. This is probably the most common photograph of me at any given time. And I'm living in that circle. So there'll be a book out soon in the fall. Look for it. You'll all get links to it, and it should have this title on it. It might have a different one on it. We'll see what the publishers say. And to Mary Ellen's question earlier is, what questions might there be?
Hey, Kris, awesome job.
Thank you.
Actually, the big question that came up was, would you share a summary of your approach to coaching a business? And I think you just kind of gave a quick overview of that.
I will. So when I coach a business, we're going to look at 6 components first. Where your vision, there's 8 questions that we ask, kind of where you want to go over a certain period of time, who's your core client, what's your marketing messaging, what's your guarantee, and what issues do you have. And now that you have that clarity, and that takes about 3 working days together to get to that point, a focus day we call it, and then 30 days later a vision build day 1, and 30 days later a vision build day 2. So 60 some odd days into that process, you've got a clear vision of where you want to take your life or your company. Then most importantly, is it shared by all? Like, I like the vision traction organizer, PDF'd, stuck on people's, like, next to their computer screens. So if you've got 35 people working at your company, if I were to call any one of them up and ask them a question, they would all give me the same exact answer. And it's awesome when you get everyone at your company rowing in the same direction. Do we have the right people? Are we measuring the right data? Are we solving issues properly? And do we have key processes that are followed by all? And does everyone know what's important in the next 90 days? Like, these are all super basic, simple things, but nobody does them. They all know them, but no one does them. And I hear it over and over again. I read the book Traction. I read the book Scaling Up. We do the daily huddle. And this is how businesses that are successful work. And everyone seems to know it, but they just have a difficulty doing it because it's hard to stick to the fundamentals. You want to just try that shiny object. And these 6 key fundamentals get driven in hardcore, 90-minute meeting exposure to them. Focus day, we start to get some clarity on where we're going and how good we are at things and what the business looks like. The 2 vision building days take place over a 30-day with a 30-day gap between them. And we get the core values, core focus, 10-year targets, marketing strategy, 3-year picture, 1-year quarterly rocks and issues list. And then every 90 days after that, we meet for quarterly to review and reset, review, reset, review, reset, and annually have a 2-day to really get some, just get some hardcore clarity on, are we still going to where we said we wanted to go 3 years from now? Or do we need to adjust this a little bit? Can we tighten it up? Like, how do we make this ship a little bit better? And I work with people for about 2 years on this. That's the long answer. Whew.
I don't know. I think that's the main question that came through. I just want to say that the chamber, actually, we conduct our chamber business using the EOS process, and it's slightly modified for volunteer organization, but it's an extraordinary system to grow your business, keep people accountable, and move forward. So I encourage
and you guys worked with an amazing coach, Bernadette, on implementing that. And, her and I believe strongly in the same process. And I used to work with a different training company and moved over to EOS after acquiring a few clients who had already done EOS and realized y'all made better clients. Oh, wait, I'm going to go teach people that as well.
It's a great
So, yeah. And it's so much simpler.
Kris, I just want to thank you for all the great information.
Thanks for having me today.
And how can people reach you?
Kris@kriskaplan.com. Google me. Text Mike. If you go to my homepage, my cell phone number is on the first page. So like if you text me or call me or email me or send me a smoke signal or a postcard or mail me a letter or whatever, I'm there.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you for being with us today. Thank you for all our attendees, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks for having me today. Cheers, everyone.